Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. There's another paid request, this time from Jose Ballard. And first off, excuse any background noise, birds, neighbors' roosters, all sorts of stuff, just how it is out here. Also, if anyone's interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos or topics, reactions, reviews, re-reviews, randomness, out of the blueness, feel free. Again, reviews, commentaries, which is whatever, topics. You can send me either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box, if you wish. Now, this is a film I've never even heard of called Spell, which I thought was 2021, but I guess reading up, it apparently was 2020. And I can see why I've never heard of it, because I don't know if I would say it made me, nothing really made me mad. It's just I wasn't a fan of the film. So I don't know if I would call this a rant. It's more like with some stuff that, quite a bit of stuff that doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, I would say I'm not a fan of the film. Not a fan of the movie. I think it's kind of a less version of Misery mixed in with voodoo stuff. I thought the acting was so-so at best. I thought the lighting, the way it looked, sometimes it was okay, sometimes it looked blurry, or the light was overexposed or something. I don't know, like, but at the same time, I wouldn't say it looked cheap. I would say if maybe the third act looked the best out of the rest of the film. It's nothing. It's not like the worst movie ever. It doesn't shove politics down your throat. Yes, it's a cast with a pretty much all black cast, but it doesn't shove any politics or agendas down your throat. It's just trying to tell a story. And it's only like, if you take the end credits out, it's only like an hour and 20-some minutes. It's written by Kurt Wimmer. I'm like, is that the same guy who directed Equilibrium? Which I enjoy, with Christian Bale. He wrote this? Okay. It stars Omari Hardwick. He was one of the actors in Army of the Dead. He was so-so in this. I don't know if it's because of his acting or because I didn't really care about his character. And the setup of the film is Omari Hardwick is a businessman. He has a wife and 2 kids. They tried to establish he gets along with his wife because he gets his wife out of a locked room, but at the same time, just something about it feels off. Like the acting, the lighting just felt off. I don't know what it was. Anyway, he's at his job one day. He gets a phone call that his father passed away. So they don't go to the funeral, which is in the Appalachia. The dad, the lead, can fly a plane. He does, lands the plane near a gas station, and it's that typical, the gas station, oh, gonna warn you not to go up there, and locals acting strange, and you see that in tons of movies. I mean, from way back in the day, even to films like Wrong Turn and other movies, the original Wrong Turn, where people go up, they're on their journey to some place, they stop at a gas station, they stop somewhere else, and pretty much someone ready to go, you're doomed, you're all doomed. The wife arguing with the husband that our kids are turned into entitled jerks. And when they get back on the plane, there's a storm, the plane crashes, the lead guy wakes up, he's in this attic, his feet are hurt, and for the most part, he sees, at this point, only like 3 people. This big, muscular guy, who, for the most part, is a mute. An older gentleman who I believe played Dwayne The Rock Johnson's dad in the remake of Walking Tall. And then this lady, played by Loretta Devine, who I remember from the first Urban Legend. She was the sassy college security guard lady. And she had a bit role in the sequel, Urban Legends Final Cut. Loretta Devine, I mean, she was told to play pretty much a voodoo priestess. That's really what she was playing. So whatever you think of with that, she kind of plays that. And it's trying to be like a voodoo version of Misery for a bit. And that's a tall order because Misery's a really good movie, and because you have a guy trapped in this room, his legs are hurt, can't move a lot. But unlike Misery, this doesn't have the best acting. I mean, that had James Caan and Kathy Bates. Kathy Bates, who won an Oscar for a role. Here, not nearly the case. Omari Hardwick, when he's begging, like, please let me out. I have to go find my family. I just didn't buy it. I don't know if it was the acting or the way it was written, or he just not right for that kind of role. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, if this was someone like Taye Diggs or Omar Epps, I think it would be better. Because I like Taye Diggs. I like Omar Epps. If you had an actor like that, I think they would have been able to do the drama better. They would have expressed their emotions a lot more smoother, a lot more relatable, a lot more genuine than Omari Hardwick did. I mean, his acting didn't impress me, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's not the worst I've seen, but it's like, eh. And they try and, like, the director's trying to do a color scheme, like, on the outside, it's raining, it's that this blue tint. There's a point where the guy escapes to the rooftop, and he looks down, he sees this ritual happening, this voodoo ritual, that this person gets his eyes back because he gets these goat's eyes kind of sewed onto his eyes, and it also deals with voodoo dolls. And this is another portion of the film with voodoo dolls. If you did certain ingredients, what you do to the doll can happen to you, which that definitely plays out in the third act. And I would say the third act is when things got a little bit interesting and made me go, I wish more of the movie was this third act, and not so much the wannabe lackluster version of Misery. Because the acting is not not just comparable to Misery, but other movies. It's just not there. I'm sorry. It's not that interesting. It's kind of boring, even with this hour and 20-minute running time. It's like 20 minutes to get to there. The finale is like, 20 some minutes, give or take, and it's pretty much him. Like I said, he's in the bed, he's trying to talk to Loretta Devine. Loretta's not having it. Loretta feeds him some food. Oh, it's delicious. Then he pukes some stuff out. You find out later why that happened. It seems like he should be even much more adamant and much more crazed and frenzied about, is my family alright? Is my family dead? Is my family alive? Like James Caan in Misery, he only had himself to think about. There wasn't this outside, he should be trying every second to try to get out of that damn bed. I just didn't feel the frenzy and the hysteria. Like John Cho in Searching, I felt that when he's desperately looking for his daughter. I didn't feel that with this guy. So then there's a part where he runs out into the rain, finally. He gets knocked out. He wakes up, and this is more spoilers. He has a big, like, railroad spike, like, big spike in his foot. Decent makeup effects, because he's got to pull it out. It's a slow process, because it's so big and thick. That's what she said. I like the makeup effects. And this seemed like if this was trying to be its version of the sledgehammer scene in Misery, which is not nearly as effective as... Like, this is not nearly as effective as the scene in Misery. But it seems like maybe that's where they were trying for. So he pulls the thing out. Thankfully doesn't bleed to death. With how big that fucking thing is, he should have been bleeding a whole fucking 50 pints of blood. But whatever. It's like as soon as he pulled it out, it cauterized. Well, not really, because I'll get to that. This is the scene that... If there's a scene that made me mad, it was this stuff. This section of the film did make me mad. I'm like, come on, movie. Because he wakes up, and he does all this, and no one is around. No one's around. And you get to the finale, there's like a little community of people. There's no one around this area. when he wakes up. And he's able to look around. He looks to the barn. He realizes they're doing some spell, some ritual on him. He's remembering shit his dad used to teach him, even though he's abusive. And they don't really go into that whole abusive thing. Like, he learns to forgive his father, or he learns to... They don't really go into that. It's just, oh, he taught me some voodoo stuff. I remember the voodoo stuff, so I'm going to do this. And we find out later in the film what he's doing with all this stuff that he's switching around. Finds a cell phone. You would think, okay, there's no one around. He finds a cell phone. Now he can grab some weapons. He'll fight back. Yeah, his foot's fucked up, but it's not like James Caan in Misery where he was stuck to a wheelchair. Both his feet were broken by a fucking sledgehammer. No, yeah, he had a big spike in his foot. It fucking hurts, but he's got his other foot. He can still walk and hobble around. Okay, they're coming back. He's going to get some weapons. One's Laura Devine, one's an older guy. Yeah, you have the bigger guy, but... No, he goes back to the bed. He puts the big fucking spike back into his foot again. I just to make them believe that he didn't leave the bed. And it's like, again, if you're in the middle of nowhere where it's like, no, there's nowhere else to go. Like Misery, where it's snowy and winter, and if you try to go out, you're going to freeze to death. It's not really the case here. In fact, when he left earlier, before he got knocked out, he saw like a house in the distance. I don't know what was up with that house. We never go back to that house. I guess it meant nothing other than that was his hope for sanctuary, but, you know, take it away from him. And he just found a phone. Okay, he does that. And this whole time I'm thinking, why have the bad guys not left anybody there? Why have the bad guys not tied him up? They don't even have to tie him up physically. Because soon after, 911, he calls, a cop comes, Loretta Devine is pissed. Loretta takes a voodoo doll, does something so he can't speak, ties the voodoo doll, and you see that he's being, like, his arm's being tied to his, like, the invisible force. So what happens to the doll happens to him. Why didn't they do that before they left? Why didn't they do that before? Why haven't they done this the whole fucking time? Obviously not the very beginning, because she got the little ingredients. But by this point, before they left, she obviously had the doll. Boop, can't move. No. This is after the guy tried to escape. Why didn't you just tie him up with your voodoo magic and your voodoo doll? No, they can't do that because we gotta find a way for them to leave and not for them to tie him up, even though he just tried to escape. So he fucking walked around so he could find the phone and he could go in the barn, he could do all this shit. So for something that's much later, and then, oh, now Laura Devine's going to tie him up to the voodoo doll. And even that doesn't make sense because the cop that she's worried about works for them. So it seems like everybody around this area is in their pocket, part of their group. Because it's like, no, it's only there to fool the audience. Even though Laura Devine knows that cop is working for them, the community knows that cop is working for them, but we, the audience, don't know. And so it's like, well, come on, Kurt Wimmer. You're a better fucking writer than this. What the fuck are you doing? You did Equilibrium, for fuck's sake. Damn good movie, which he also directed. But after Ultraviolet, he said fuck it to directing, I guess, which is too bad. I've been willing to give him another shot. But if he's writing shit like this, maybe not. So yeah, even though he tried to escape, the next morning he wakes up, they left him alone. I just, hey, we put a spike in his foot. Okay, but he was able to take it out and do all this shit and walk around enough time to hobble around and hobble into the barn and do some shit and hobble around and find a phone and try to call. Didn't tie him up physically or didn't tie him up voodoo-wise. Voodoo magic. And then again, the cop comes. Oh, even though he works for us, and we know he works for us, my body revolted in that. Was going to, oh, I'm going to tie you up in voodoo and you can't move. And I'm like, why are you doing all this? He works for you. The guy could come in with a gun, sit the fuck down. I just to fuck with him. I need you to pull a gun, get the fuck back in there. I'm gonna shoot you in the foot. No, I'm gonna take you in. I'm gonna drive you up. I'm gonna drive you back. Psych! You're on fucking Voodoo candid camera. I fooled you. You thought I was a good cop. Nah, I just took you a big fucking circle jerk to go right back to where the fuck you went. And then the finale, which is probably when it got a bit interesting, because there's this ritual. His family are there, but in sort of a zombie state, like hypnotism. The guy had messed some stuff around, so he wasn't knocked out, or he had the power to overcome. What this is the end of spoilers. Before I get into that, at least the finale, I didn't mind the lighting in the finale, mostly in this barn. There's a little bit of action they're trying to do. It doesn't end on a stupid out of the blue downbeat way. And I said the movie's an hour and 20 some minutes, so I've seen much worse movies. It's not like the worst thing ever. But it's just not really caring about the characters. The story only got interesting for me in the last like 10-15 minutes. And the wannabe misery I thought was very lame, lackluster, and boring. Fairly boring. The stuff that happens, I'm like, why did they do that? Why did they do this? The lead wasn't, I mean, again, maybe if you cast a different actor, like a Boutine Woodbine, or an Omar Epps, or Tyrese, or I mentioned Taye Diggs, or someone else, I think could have been better. Because I do think they are better actors than Omari Hardwick, at least of what I've seen of him. He was okay in Army of the Dead. Or even someone like Orlando Jones. I'm looking at DVD of Evolution. That would have been a different role for him, a more serious role. I would be more curious about Orlando Jones as the lead, or someone like that, than this guy. When I don't give much of a shit about the lead, the movie kind of falls apart. So I guess really this is more of a rant, but more of like a mild rant, because there's a lot of issues. I mean, I would never see this film again. I never would see this film again. I don't know. I won't rant, but if people watch it, they'll get what I mean. It's just, spoiler alert with the finale. When I say the last 10-15 minutes gets a bit interesting, it's like, okay, there's his family. I don't know where the fuck his family's been hidden this whole fucking time, but there's his family in this hypnotism state. I guess they were doing the same stuff to them that they were doing to him. Maybe they're doing in other parts of this community. It's something to do with, I guess, transferring the soul into other bodies, from their body into these younger bodies. You know, voodoo ritual. And the lead guy's finally able to do some stuff. He stabs the older guy. The bigger, mute type of muscular guy's trying to fight him, but he had taken the guy's doll and put into like a little tub thing so the guy drowns. Just like, why is he puking water? Oh, that's why. He put the guy's doll. I think they made voodoo dolls of themselves because of the ritual that needed to happen. Something like that. I'm not 100% clear on it, to be honest. The sheriff, the turncoat asshole, the lead slices the shit out of him. He takes Laura Devine's doll. And this was, I will say, it kind of made me laugh, I will say. It was entertaining, but in a laughable way. There's Loretta Devine. There's the lead guy. The lead guy's gotten his family out. The barn is burning up. The lead guy takes the doll, does like a baseball swing on it, hits the doll, and when he hits the doll, Loretta Devine flies back through the barn in slow motion. You can easily tell it's a wire work. Because even when she falls, it's like this part is probably caught on the wire, so she doesn't fall like you normally would. You can tell it was a wire work thing. But it's like done in slow motion where Loretta Devine... It did make me laugh, but it was entertaining. Traps her in the burning barn. The lead guy gets with his family. They walk out of there. End of movie. So, I mean, like I said, there are worse films. I think that the last 10, 15 minutes, there's the deal with the voodoo dolls and what you could do to them, you do to people in the real world, and maybe that idea, if it wasn't done in a silly manner, like if he took the doll and took a knife, like stabbed the leg, then stabbed the other leg, then the arm, then the other arm, or Chucky in Child's Play, the original Child's Play, what he did, when he took it, he broke the leg, and then you see the leg break. Like, oh, what you did to my feet, I'm going to do to your feet. Oh, yeah? Remember you put the spike in it? Let me put a spike in your foot. And he, like, has a nail. And he puts, like, a nail in the doll's foot. Like, something like that. Not, I don't know, the baseball swing was a bit too much. I did, but it was laughably entertaining. And so, if you watch the trailer, you get the gist of the movie. There are much worse films. It's not one of the worst films I've seen. You know, again, the ending was semi-entertaining. Stuff was actually happening. The build-up I thought was kind of slow and boring. There's really not much for characters. There's not much for character development. Unlike Misery, you got to know a bit more James Caan. You definitely got to know more about Annie, Kathy Bates' character, her mental state, how fixated she is on the character Misery, the whole book, all the characters, I should say. But not really the case here. Yeah. The possible character development with the lead, dealing with his father, nothing's really done with that, other than thank you for teaching me the art of voodoo. It's not really any, I came to terms with my dad and why he did this. No, there's really none of that. The actors who play his family are not really that great. I don't know, just, if I want to watch a voodoo movie, I'd rather watch The Serpent and the Rainbow, or The Believers, or a number of other movies dealing with voodoo. Fucking voodoo magic! So, it is what, I mean, at least it had no politics that was trying to fucking lecture me on. At least it didn't have that. At least it was short. You know, if it's a movie you don't care for, at least make it 80 minutes and not 100 minutes or 120 minutes. So it is, I wasn't really a fan of it. But at least it's not the worst thing I've seen, but meh. Meh. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.